Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cha Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, today we are starting new chapter, chapter 11, entitled Jad Bharat instructs King Rahugana. Text number 1 onwards. Brahman uvacha akovidha kovidava davadana vadasyatho nati vidam varishta nasuryo hi vyavaharam menam tattvama marchen sahamananti. The Brahman Jad Bharat said, "My dear king, although you're not at all experienced, you're trying to speak like a very experienced man. Consequently, you cannot be considered an experienced person. An experienced person does not speak the way you are speaking about the relationship between a master and a servant or about material pains and pleasures. These are simply external activities. Any advanced, experienced man, considering the absolute truth, does not talk in this way." So similarly, Prabhupada says, Krishna similarly chastised Arjuna, Ashocyananvashochastvam pragyavadansh bhashase. While speaking learned words, you're lamenting for what is not worthy of grief. So not worthy of grief because Arjuna was lamenting that his grandfather will die, his preacher will die, and his cousin and the son will die, or this or that, nephews will die. But this is what Krishna chastised him. You're speaking like a learned word, but you're lamenting for what is not worthy of grief. Similarly, among people in general, 99.9% try to talk like experienced advisors, but they're actually devoid of spiritual knowledge and are therefore like inexperienced children, speaking nonsensically. Consequently, their words cannot be given any importance. One has to learn from Krishna or his devotee. If one speaks on the basis of this experience, that is, on the basis of spiritual knowledge, one's words are valuable. At the present moment, the entire world is full of foolish people. Bhagavad Gita describes these people as mudas. They are trying to rule human society, but because they're devoid of spiritual knowledge, the entire world is in a chaotic condition. To be released from these miserable conditions, one has to become Krishna conscious and take lessons from an exalted personality like Jad Bharat, Lord Krishna, and Kapil Dev. That is the only way to solve the problems of material life. So this is the opening statement of Jad Bharat, that you are trying to speak like an experienced person, but you have no experience at all. So only a guru, only a self-realized person of the caliber of Jad Bharat can speak so boldly to a king, King Rahugana, not an ordinary person. And Jad Bharat outwardly, he was what? Poor man, not even clean, has a dirty sacred thread and a dirty kopin. That's all he was wearing. But it was his self-realization and his devotion, his faith in the Supreme Lord that he could speak to King Rahugana like that. And he had no ulterior motives. See, spiritual master has to be very, very bold, very heavy. But if somebody has ulterior motives, if somebody has some other motives than just to preach or to bring that person out of ignorance, if there is some other motive than that, then the person cannot speak the truth. So people say, oh, we want to be, they envy the Brahmanical positions, and people, so by Brahmins are given so much of respect. Because a real Brahman, and here Jad Bharat is more than just a Brahman, he's a Vaishnava, he's a devotee. But a real Brahman, he can even speak the truth to his enemies. Of course, he has no enemy, but people who are inimical to him, a real Brahman can speak the truth to them without any fear. That conviction has to be there. That self-realization, that knowledge, that faith has to be there. One does not just become a Brahman and enjoy. That faith to speak the truth has to be there. And a Vaishnava, a devotee, a guru like Jad Bharat, when Rahugana Maharaj has taken shelter of him. And this is the opening statement. Basically, he's saying you're like a ignorant child. You don't know what you're talking about. Tathav Rajan Nuru Garhamedha Vitana Vidyoru Uvijrimbiteshu Navedavadeshu Hitatvavadaha Prayana Shuddho Nu Chakasti Sadhu. My dear king, talks of the relationship between the master and the servant, the king and the subject, and so forth, are simply talks about material activities. People interested in material activities, which are expounded in the Vedas, are intent of performing material sacrifices and placing faith in the material activities. For such people, spiritual advancement is definitely not manifest. In this verse, two words are significant, Vedavad and Tattvavad. According to Bhagavad Gita, those who are simply attached to the Vedas and who do not understand the purpose of the Vedas or the Vedanta Sutra are called Vedavada Rataha. Men of small intelligence and small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say there is nothing more than this. So this is what the Vedas deal with, three modes of material nature. But the guru or a self-realized person knows what's the real purpose of Veda, what is the essence of Vedas. And this is what he teaches to his disciple, not the karma kanda activities or jnana kanda or some other thing. No. The real essence. When Krishna says, by all the Vedas I am to be known. So that is a real truth of the Vedas. But one has to be a bona fide guru, and the disciple has to be on that level to understand the truth. The Vedavad followers of the Vedas are generally inclined to karmakanda, the performance of sacrifice, according to the Vedic injunctions. They are thereby promoted to higher planetary systems. They generally practice the Chaturmasya system. Akshayam havai Chaturmasya yagya sukritam bhavati. One who performs the Chaturmasya yagya becomes pious. By becoming pious, one may be promoted to the higher planetary systems. Some of the followers of Vedas are attached to karmakanda, the fruitive activities of the Vedas, in order to be promoted to a higher standard of life. Others argue that this is not the purpose of the Vedas. In this world, someone may become very highly elevated by taking birth in an aristocratic family, by becoming well-educated, beautiful, or very rich. These are the gifts for pious activities enacted in the past life. However, these will be finished when the stock of pious activity is finished. If we become attached to pious activities, we may get these various worldly facilities in the next life and may take birth in the heavenly planets. But all this will eventually be finished. Shine punya marte lokam vishanti. When the stock of pious activity is finished, one again has to come to this marte loka or earthly planet. According to the Vedic injunctions, the performance of pious activity is not really the objective of the Vedas. See, the Karma Kanda is a process mentioned in the Vedas so that we understand there is a higher, there are higher personalities or higher authorities who can give us better facilities. So generally people, they just like to enjoy their bodies, better sense gratification. So, okay, heaven gives them better facilities to enjoy the senses. But if they really learn the way that they'll understand, oh, if I do this, I go to heaven, and after I finish my pious activities, bang, I have to come back. So why should I waste my time? So according to Vedic injunctions, the performance of pious activity is not really the objective of the Vedas. The objective of Vedas is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Vedasya sarvar aham ev vedya. The objective of the Vedas is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are Vedavadis are not actually advanced in knowledge, and those who are followers of Jnanakanda, Brahman understanding, are also not perfect. However, when one comes to the platform of Upasana and accepts the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes perfect. Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param. In the Vedas, the worship of different demigods and the performance of sacrifice are certainly mentioned. But such worship is inferior because the worshippers do not know that the ultimate goal is Vishnu. When one comes to the platform of Vishnu Aradhanam or Bhakti Yoga, one has attained the perfection of life. Otherwise, as indicated in Bhagavad Gita, one is not a Tattvavadi, but a Vedavadi, a blind follower of the Vedic injunctions. A Vedavadi cannot be purified from material contamination unless he becomes a Tattvavadi, that is, one who knows Tattva, the absolute truth. Tattva is also experienced in three features: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwaneti, Shabdati. Even after coming to the platform of understanding Tattva, one must worship Bhagwan, Vishnu, and his expansions, or one who's not yet perfect. So after many, many births, one who's actually in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna. Conclusion is that unintelligent men with a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand Bhagwan, Brahman, or Paramatma. But after studying the Vedas and attaining the understanding of the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is supposed to be on the platform of perfect knowledge. So those who say the Vedas say this, Vedas say that. So Vedas talk a lot about many things: Karma Kanda and Gyan Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and even in the Upasana Kanda, one trying to understand Krishna. Now there are three aspects of Krishna: Brahm Jyoti, then Paramatma, then finally Bhagwan. And even in Bhagwan aspect, now with what mood we worship Bhagwan? Whether we worship him with awe and reverence, with respect, or with more love. And then in love also there's some gradations. So coming to the level, or coming to our Sarup, whatever our Sarup is, but in that, if somebody is on the level of Madhurya Bhakti, that is the topmost. And Acharyas have given different gradations in Madhurya Bhakti as well. So it's so deep actually. This whole spiritual science, it's so deep. There is no limit to it. There is no end to it. But coming to the level of Bhagwan and then coming to the level of unalloyed devotional service to Bhagwan, that's very rare actually. Na tasya tattva grinaya sakshad variya sirapi vachah samasan swapne niruktaya grihe medhi saukhyam na yasya heyanumitam swayam sayat. A dream becomes automatically known to a person as false and immaterial. And similarly, one eventually realizes that material happiness in this life or the next, on this planet or a higher planet, is insignificant. When one realizes this, the Vedas, although an excellent source, are insufficient to bring about direct knowledge of the truth. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advised Arjuna to become transcendental to the material activities, impelled by the three material modes of material nature. The purpose of Vedic study is to transcend the activities of the three modes of material nature. Of course, in the material world, the mode of goodness is accepted as the best, and one can be promoted to the higher planetary systems by being on the Sattva Guna platform. However, that is not perfection. One must come to the conclusion that even the Sattva Guna platform is also not good. One may dream that he has become a king with a good family, wife, and children. But immediately at the end of that dream, he comes to the conclusion that it is false. Similarly, all kinds of material happiness are undesirable for a person who wants spiritual salvation. If a person does not come to the conclusion that he has nothing to do with any kind of material happiness, he cannot come to the platform of understanding the absolute truth or Tattva Gyan. Karmis, Gyanis, and Yogis are after some material elevation. Karmis work hard day and night for some worldly comfort, and the Gyanis simply speculate about how to get out of the entanglement of karma and merge into the Brahman effulgence. Yogis are very much addicted to the acquisition of material perfection and magical powers. All of them are trying to be materially perfect, but a devotee very easily comes to the platform of nirguna in devotional service. And consequently, for the devotee, the results of karma, jnana, and yoga become very insignificant. Therefore, only the devotee is on the platform of Tattva Gyan, not the others. Of course, the Jnani's position is better than that of a karmi, but that position is also insufficient. Jnani must also actually become liberated, and after liberation, he may be situated in devotional service. So it's very, very difficult to come to the level of devotional service. People are they just hover around on karma platform. Karmis are then some come to the level of yogis and then some jnanis, but bhakti, it's very, very difficult. So basically to enjoy anything in this material world is like hovering around in a dream. It's a false, immaterial, but most of the people, even the transcendentalists, they are just remain on this platform. Yavan mano rajasa purushasya sattvenva tamsa vanurudam cheto abhira kuti bhira tanoti nirankusham kushalam chetaram va. As long as the mind of the living entity is contaminated by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, his mind is exactly like an independent, uncontrolled elephant. It simply expands its jurisdiction of pious and impious activities by using the senses. The result is that the living entity remains in the material world to enjoy and suffer pleasures and pains due to material activity. So it's a mind. Mind plays such tricky games. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that material pious and impious activities are both opposed to the principle of devotional service. Devotional service means mukti, freedom from material entanglement. But pious and impious activities result in entanglement within this material world. If the mind is captivated by the pious and impious activities mentioned in the Vedas, one remains eternally in darkness. One cannot attain the absolute platform. To change the consciousness from ignorance to passion or from passion to goodness does not really solve the problem. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one must come to the transcendental platform, otherwise, life's mission is never fulfilled. So, even just coming to the platform of goodness is not enough. There's like somewhere it is mentioned that mode of ignorance is like a shackles of iron, mode of passion is like shackles of silver, and mode of goodness is like shackles of gold. But nevertheless, they are still shackles. A soul is still entangled, is still bound by either iron, silver, or gold chains. Is not clean yet. Is not free yet. And here, Jad Bharat is giving the example of his mind is exactly like an independent, uncontrolled elephant. Independent and uncontrolled. Good luck controlling it. Controlling an elephant. So mind is like that. If mind is not in control, as long as the mind is contaminated by the three modes of material nature. So mind has to be trained properly by the intelligence, and intelligence has to be sharp enough. Intelligence has to be spiritualized to control that uncontrolled mind. Very difficult work. And some other place, Prabhupada said, mind is what? Uncontrolled mind is what? Is like a mad monkey who has eaten datura, who's like intoxicated. And datura is very, very strong intoxicant. So monkey who's mad and on top of it, who's intoxicated. Good luck controlling it. And this is what mind does. Mind plays games all the time, all the time. So vasnatma vishayoparatto gunapravaho vikritaha shodashatma vibrat prithanga nama bhirupa bhedam antar bahishvam cha puras tanoti. Because the mind is absorbed in desires for pious and impious activities, it is naturally subjected to the transformation of lust and anger. In this way, it becomes attracted to material sense gratification. In other words, the mind is conducted by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There are 11 senses and 5 material elements, and out of these 16 items, the mind is the chief. Therefore, the mind brings about birth in different types of bodies among demigods, human beings, animals, and birds. When the mind is situated in a higher or lower position, it accepts a higher or lower material body. So mind is situated means situated is in mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Then the subtle body is formed, and then the living entity gets that kind of gross body. Transmigration among the 8,400,000 species is due to the minds being polluted by certain material qualities. Due to the mind, the soul is subjected to pious and impious activities. Contamination of material existence is like the waves of material nature. In this regard, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, my dear brother, the spirit soul is completely under the control of Maya, and you are being carried away by the waves. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the 3 modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of activities, which are in actuality carried out by nature. Material existence means being fully controlled by material nature. The mind is a center for accepting the dictations of material nature. In this way, the living entity is carried away in different types of bodies continuously, millennium after millennium. Due to living entities' forgetfulness of Krishna, one is bound by the laws of material nature. So this is how mind plays games, and mind is uncontrolled, independent elephant. So only until mind is controlled by the intelligence, which is sharpened by the spiritual practices, and and by the resolve of surrender to Krishna. Surrender to Krishna only means surrendering or taking a vow to follow his instructions. And following his instructions means following the instructions of his representative, Guru. So if we follow instructions of Krishna as given by Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, which is instructions of Krishna, Prabhupada did not add or subtract or edit or delete or anything he did. He just presented Bhagavad Gita as it is. So he just presented them the way we can understand and we can try to follow. So even in that, because our mind is not in control, the mind keeps on playing games. But slowly, keep on working on this. Because mind is controlled by the material nature here, Maya. And slowly, we are trying to take it away from the control of Maya and trying to engage everything in Krishna's service. The senses, the mind, the intelligence, everything. So slowly, it will have an effect. It takes time. Now, how much time will it take? There's a nice story. That once when Akbar was ruling in Delhi, his capital was Delhi. So he, in this weather, not in February, but it was in like December, January time. So he went with Birbal to the banks of Yamuna. And that time there was water in Yamuna also. And he saw a person early morning taking bath in Yamuna water. So he was very surprised. How can somebody take bath so early in the morning, cold water of Yamuna? And it's not possible. But Birbal said, no, by practice it is possible. But Akbar said, no, it's not possible. So anyway, so he made an announcement that anybody who shows me he can take bath in Yamuna in this cold weather, early in the morning, I'll give him lots of gifts, lots of prize. So because his other ministers who were envious of Birbal, they instigated Akbar that how can Birbal say no? He was taking when you said nobody can take bath and this and that. So anyway, so condition was kept. So this the day was kept, and the person came early morning, and everybody was there. The soldiers were there, ministers were there, and he took bath. And while taking bath, because far away there was a temple, on the roof of the temple there was a lamp burning. So the person, when taking bath, he just paid respects to the temple, to the lamp, and he went home. And then later on in the evening he came, and but the other ministers, they went to Akbar. They said, no, actually this person, he did not fulfill the conditions. He was taking that heat from that lamp on the temple roof far away, and that's why he could take bath. So Akbar did not give him any prize money. He said, no, you cheated, so we cannot give you anything. So the person, he went to Birbal. Birbal said, okay, I'll do something. So a few days later, Birbal asked Akbar to come over to his house for lunch. So Akbar went, and he sat in the, whatever, that time there was no living room, but whatever, in the first room. And he asked Birbal, I'm hungry, is the lunch ready? Yes, Maharaj is getting ready, just give it some more time. Fine. So 1 hour went by, they were talking, and Akbar was getting really hungry, and he said, Birbal, what is going on? is the lunch ready? We were, oh, let me go check. And he went inside. He came out after 2-3 minutes. He said, yes, yes, Maharaj is getting ready at any time. It will be ready. So another hour went by. They were talking, and Akbar was really getting hungry, and he was really getting angry. And Birbal, what is happening? Let me go inside and check. Where is it? It's being prepared. So he went inside. So in the kitchen, there was this handi where everything was cooked, and khichdi was being made, but the handi was kept at the roof, and the heat was on the floor. And Birbal said, "Bas, Maharaj, it will be cooked very soon." Akbar said, "Are you crazy? The handi is so far away. How is it going to get cooked? Bring the pot down on the flame, and then it will cook." Birbal said, if that person can get heat from one little lamp from that far temple roof, I'm pretty sure this handi is much closer and the fire is much more than the simple lamp, so it will get cooked. So Akbar understood his mistake, and next day he called that person and gave him lots of money. But the point of this story in today's context is, so we have to bring the pot or handi of our heart closer to the heat of bhakti. And then some khichdi of Krishna, love, Krishna Prasad will be prepared. Otherwise, if the pot is too far away and the flame is too low, it will take very, very, very long time. Maybe nothing will happen. So this is what we have to do. So we have to put in more effort. We have to do more than what we think we can. Because what we think we can is a game of the mind. Soul is much more powerful than the mind. Much, much, much more powerful. It's a part and parcel of Krishna. The soul can do many, many things. But the mind keeps us in that comfort zone or in that limitation, binds us. No, you can only do this, that's it. No, we can do much more. So we just have to do it. And then definitely wonderful results will be there. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice.
Thank you, Vand.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask one question which is not related to today's shlokas. It's just a general this thing that people nowadays are very complex. So they have some superiority complexes and inferiority complexes. So these complexes comes under which mode? It's like all the three modes are there, but these complexes come under which mode? Rajogun, Satogun, or not this one? Tamogun.
Definitely not Sattvagun.
Okay.
So it's a combination of ignorance and passion. Ignorance is I am means ignorance. No, I am this body. It's ignorance. And passion, it could be passionate that I am better than you and I can do this better than you, that better than you. So that could be passion also.
It's a mixture of basically. मतलब if I suppose मेरे को अगर कुछ अपने से अच्छा दिखता है तो I get complex, and if I get something inferior to them then I also get complex. So मतलब like my situation is like what kind of this thing? मेरे को मैं तो clear ही नहीं हूँ कि मैं what under what mode I am. In 1 hour I'm something else, 1 hour I'm something else, you know.
Yeah, that fluctuation will always be there. But mostly people in Kali Yuga are in ignorance or passion or combination of both.
Okay.
Goodness तो बहुत rare है. And that too, even if goodness, but that will be temporary, not like permanently in goodness. For a few moments, we could be in goodness.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji.